Despite being set a mere 60 years in the future on our Earth, the world of Shadowrun is incredibly different to our own. Aside from the return of magic, as well as trolls, orcs, dwarves, and elves, a lot of lines have been redrawn when it comes to nations and countries. So today I thought it would be fun to take a look at the various nations of the Sixth World in Shadowrun. Let's take this continent by continent, starting with North America. The Ghost Dance War and the rise of the Native American nations in the mid-2010s led to the continent being divided into multiple small countries. The two largest countries are the United Canadian and American States, or UCAS, and the Confederation of American States, or CAS. After the Ghost Dance War, where the Native Americans reclaimed most of their lost land, Canada and America were left in financial ruin and decided to unify into one nation, the UCAS. The CAS were originally a part of the UCAS, but seceded in 2034 due to disliking the idea of merger with another country. The UCAS has Seattle, largely considered to be the Shadowrun capital of the world. Each of the Big Ten megacorporations has a presence in Seattle, not to mention the Mafia and the Yakuza. The CAS, by comparison, isn't quite the corporate hellscape of its northern cousin. It has a very thriving economy, and is also home to the largest private security company in the world, Lone Star. Yep, if you're a Shadowrunner and have ever been arrested by these gun-toting maniacs, you have the CAS, and more specifically Texas, to blame. Though, let's be honest, Texas is probably to blame for most of the world's gun-toting maniacs. Most of the rest of America is taken up by the various members of the NAN. The Salish Shi rules over the Pacific Northwest, including the area around Seattle. The Pueblo Corporate Council controls the Southwest, the Sioux Nation rules the Plains, and the North is controlled by the Algonquian Manitou Council. There is also the California Free State, which was ousted from the UCAS in 2036, and the Republic of Quebec. Moving on down to South America, we find the nation of Aztlan. The country takes up most of Central America, and is owned almost entirely by Aztechnology, one of the most feared Big Ten megacorporations. So, if you've managed to piss off Aztechnology and their blood mages, maybe don't vacation in Central America. Aside from a few smaller nations, the rest of South America is taken up by Amazonia. Up until recently, Amazonia was one of the few places in the Sixth World where people cared more about the nation's leaders than any of the megacorporations, probably because the nation was led by a giant dragon named Huelpa. Unfortunately, between 2072 and 2074, Aztlan invaded Amazonia and took a large amount of its land, weakening the country and making room for the megacorporations to usurp more power. Moving over to Asia, we find the Japanese imperial state. In 2006, Japan decided that just being Japan was boring, so they decided to begin expanding into a massive empire that covered most of Asia, as you do. Japan is the birthplace of a number of megacorporations, including the robotics companies Mitsuhama, Shiawase, and Renraku, all of which are part of the Big Ten. It is also infamous for its discrimination against non-humans, especially orcs and trolls. Hong Kong remains neutral ground among the massive sprawl of the Empire, and is as much of a hotbed for Shadowrunners and underworld intrigue as Seattle is in America. In Europe, meanwhile, we find the Allied German states, home of the most powerful megacorporation in the Sixth World, Seder Krupp. When you imagine a polluted, oppressed, dirty cyberpunk hellscape, you get a pretty accurate image of the Allied German states. The nation is a hotbed of corporate resistance, which is pretty ballsy when your nation is ruled by Lofweir himself. Africa is largely ruled by whoever happens to control the oil supply, and throughout most of the Sixth World history, that has been the tribes of the Kingdom of Nigeria. Africa is also home to Azamondo, a nation inhabited entirely by ghouls. For those of you who are unaware, ghouls are metahumans who have been infected by a strain of HMHVV, or the human metahuman vampiric virus, that gives them superhuman strength and senses, but forces them to consume at least 1% of their body weight in metahuman flesh per week, among other weaknesses. Some people see Azamondo as very progressive, and the first steps into acceptance of those infected with HMHVV, while others see the metahumans that are routinely sacrificed to the nation's inhabitants as incredibly inhumane. Lastly, we have the ravaged landscape of Australia. Australia is one of the few places in the Sixth World that is untouched by the mega corporations, largely due to the supernatural occurrences that happen there. Mana storms ravage the outback, strange and warped critters attack citizens, and the island of Tasmania appears to have mutated into a living organism that devour those who intrude upon it. There is also Oceania, which was originally a separate island but was annexed by Australia in 2064 after its Prime Minister mysteriously vanished. Anger at Australia has led to a burgeoning resistance movement, which provides a lot of opportunity for wet work and courier runs. So, guess I'll see you down south, chummer. And that ends this discussion on the nations of the Sixth World. Thank you all so much for watching. If you like this video, do not forget that there is a button for that, and please be sure to subscribe if you want to see more content from me. As always, there are a wide variety of rewards. And that concludes this discussion of the nations of the Sixth World. Thank you all so much for watching. If you like this video, do not forget that there is a button for that, and please be sure to subscribe if you want to see more content from me. As always, there are some really cool rewards you can earn by becoming a patron, including access to my video schedule, behind-the-scenes footage, including bloopers, and being able to add videos to my schedule directly. But of course, none of that is strictly necessary. Liking my videos, sharing them with your friends, commenting on them, and of course subscribing are all still wonderful ways to support my channel. I think that's about it. So as always, my name is Lily, and I will see you lovely people later.